And obviously the original, the opening ball game was a testament to that. I mean, we didn't play a bunch of guys, and there was a ton of snaps, and they just keep lining up and playing ball. And, we're proud of them for that. There's you guys know a big word for me is maturity, and there's a ton of maturity in that group. Our best workers are those leaders and those playmakers. And so they work hard all week, and, they go out there, and anytime you grow as a coach to know what to expect, the more guys you have on the field that you feel like you know what you're going to get, how they're going to play, the better you are usually. And we know that about a bunch of those guys right now. Just by the way they practice, by their experiences, we got to, and the way they play, that we kind of know what to expect. And that doesn't mean we play perfect, because we're not. But they're playing hard. And then the second piece to that is they're making plays in big moments. We talk about that. We've got some guys that just instinctively and naturally, they make plays on the ball, and they like big moments. And some guys rise to the occasion, and I think we got a handful of guys that do that. So
let's go to Mark Brennan, Fight on State. Rich, you're on deck.
Brent, building on that a little bit, what leads to a defense playing really well in the red zone the way that you guys are?
Number one always is the mindset. Some defenses, I think, have a defeated attitude when people get in the red zone, particularly the tight red zone. I think right now we got a group that rise to the occasion, and they embrace, the red zone and the tough situation. And then, we've studied it and tried to be a little more varied in what we're doing down there. For a lot of years, we were, ultra aggressive and man pressure. We've tried to mix it up a little bit and, just keep people more honest. Each week it's kind of a new plan of what we're going to be down there, who we're going to be. Most offensives, have a pretty set idea of what they want to do. And, they have to practice against what they've seen. And so our idea is to keep them as honest as we can about what they may get down there.
Let's go to Rich Scarcella, and Audrey, you're on deck.
Morning, Brent. How are you?
Good.
A big move that you and James made was moving Curtis into that Sam position. And I was just wondering, how do you think that has worked out so far? And how do you think the linebackers are playing to this point?
Yeah, I think just the domino effect of that move has helped our defense. I think we had a lot of confidence in Kurt coming into the offseason that he'd be ready for something like this, to step into the starting role. I think that Curtis brings a little more to the table at Sam than Brandon did. I think Brandon brings more to the table at Will than Jesse did. And I think Jesse's strengths are highlighted by playing a bunch of snaps at defensive end. So I think all in all, for us, it's about minimizing liabilities and maximizing strengths. And I think all three of those moves did that. So I feel good about that. Always looking for the backers to play better. I think Ellis is playing his best football right now and leading the defense. And I think Curtis is a work in progress every day. He's still a first-year starter. He's growing. He's showing improvement each week. He's a really talented guy that, I think has a lot of plays in him, plays that, we're going to need to help us win down the stretch here. So, and then Brandon is, that's really the toughest position mentally in the defense. There's the most adjustments, and Brandon has embraced it and is doing a very nice job. He leads our team in tackles, but at the same time, I've got very high expectations for Brandon. And just like all these guys, keep looking for their best game. And, that's very true for Curtis and Brandon right now.
Let's go to Audrey and then Tyler.
Hey, Brent, thanks for your time.
Just
You guys are blitzing at one of the highest percentages in the country. I guess how would you kind of evaluate the pass rush when you guys aren't blitzing, and do you expect that high clip to still be there in a few weeks?
Yeah, we've always hovered right around 40%, and I think we're somewhere maybe around 50 right now. So we are up. I think it's a combination of a couple things. I feel really good about our secondary and our coverage aspect with those guys. And then at the same time, I think, we're probably down a guy or two just from winning more one-on-ones, if we rush four. And we're also trying, the third piece would be we're trying to give the offensive play caller and the quarterback more to look at. And, for a lot of years, it was rush four and play coverage, and it was pretty easy to identify that, before the ball was snapped, that's who we were going to be. And we felt like against these spread teams, especially, we need to have more variety and give some tougher looks. And when the ball turns over, there's pressure, there's rush four, there's drop eight, there's, different coverage patterns. We wanted to do a better job of keeping people honest on third down. So, it's a combination of a couple things. I do think we need to win more one-on-ones. I think we will need to win more one-on-ones. And you try and create those, and whether you bring a fifth guy to single everybody up, or, you're bringing 6 or 7 to try and get a free hitter. But we do need to win a few more one-on-ones.
Let's go to Tyler Donahue and then Corey.
Good morning, Brent. Good to hear from you.
Yes, sir.
If I could go back to, you mentioned Lucetta moving a defensive end. Could I ask for an evaluation on Nick, Jesse, and AK, since they have handled the bulk of work there at defensive end? Because, last time we spoke to you, none of us really knew what that was going to look like, and through games to be a very positive step for your defense.
Yeah, I like the play of those 3 guys right now. We need, a fourth guy to step up. I don't know that we can go the season with those 3 guys just, getting the amount of reps they're getting. Smith Vilbert is getting better week by week. Zariah Fisher's getting better week by week. But when you talk about losing a guy like Adisa, who for a lot of us was probably penciled in as your number 1 defensive end, and for these guys to step up and Jesse's role as a defensive end to grow like it did with the injury to Adisa, it's a testament to them. All 3 of them are motor guys. They just play hard, one speed. They're all pretty instinctive guys. They're mature guys. And those 3 guys work their butts off every day. They're great workers. And they're all athletic. I mean, you remember, obviously, Jesse, all the training at linebacker, and then Nick Tarburton came here and was a linebacker through his first spring or most of it. And AK certainly was recruited as a linebacker and has a lot of linebacker traits as well. So you got pretty athletic guys, lining up at that spot.
We'll go to Corey Geiger and then Nate Bauer. You're on deck.
Hey, good morning, Brent. When you watch opposing defenses against your offense, are you noticing that they're just loading up to stop the run schematically? And as the defensive coordinator, what are the pros and cons if you do that to another team, if you just load up one way or another against the run or the pass?
Yeah, first of all, honestly, I don't see much of our offense other than practice. Saturdays, I don't get to watch many plays. We're usually pretty busy when, we're on that sideline and, with our kids. But, I think, for us, obviously, we try and make people one-dimensional defensively. I mean, that's always our goal. What are they best at? Throwing the ball or running the ball? And, we got to take away what they do well and make them beat us with with a potential liability. And, we do the same thing when we evaluate personnel. Who's their best players? If we eliminate this guy from the offense, can they win the game? Sometimes if we eliminate these 2 guys from the offense, can we win the game? When you answer that question, then you say, how do we do that? What's the best way we do that? And it's kind of the same thing. For us, it usually starts with stopping the run in this league. It usually starts there, not always, but, so I'm not sure that answers your question, but that's kind of my thoughts on it.
Let's go to Nate Bauer and then Woogie, you're on deck.
Hey, Brent, how are you?
Good, man.
Hey, one of the things that I heard a bunch last year from your defensive players and then seems to have carried over this year is talking about playing within the framework of the defense, like just as kind of a buzz phrase. What does that mean, and how well do you think they're doing it this year, maybe as compared to last?
Yeah, that's been our battle cry the entire offseason. I think the word framework means in the structure, doing your job, doing your 1/11th, your part in the defense, being where you're supposed to be. If you'll just trust your keys and read your keys, they're going to take you to your play. That's about 99% over 30 years. That's the case. Training these guys to keep their eyes in the right place and trust their keys. And, that'll put them in the framework, keep them in the framework. We're about accountability. That's been on and off the field. We've had a lot of conversations, a lot of meetings, a lot of emphasis on accountability, how that goes beyond just attending a class or, being there on time for study hall or a meal or whatever the case is, that you're accountable to everybody, to yourself, to what's being asked of you, whether it's to align in a 30 technique when we ask you to, or to be 10 minutes early to a meeting. Either you're the type of guy that details matter and the accountability is important, or you're not. And, we felt like at times last year we were, trying to make a play and disregarding keys and guessing, and you can't guess in this game and be right that often. And then we thought at times we just weren't accountable. It wasn't important enough to make sure we were in the right place, doing the right thing. So that's been a big emphasis, and the guys, the leadership on defense, they have really embraced that. I respect them, and I'm proud of them for it, and I appreciate them for it. They have embraced that and have completely, aligned with us as their coaches and how important it is. And I think it's paying dividends, for all of us right now.
Let's go to Mark Wogenrich and then Joe, you're on deck.
Hey, Brent, to follow up on the blitz pass rush question a few back, how are you assess the blitz or the sack numbers then with regard to that? Where do you want to fall? Is 6 enough? Are there other mitigating factors involved in the actual sack production numbers?
Yeah, we've been one of the best sack teams in the country over the last 5 or 6 years, and we made some philosophical changes last year in our rush against spread teams that we thought would help us be better. You go back and look, we were a high sack team, but we also had more quarterback scrambles and quarterbacks get out on us. And we needed to minimize that, be better in that area. And so we've made some adjustments. I don't look at sack numbers necessarily. I'm not saying they're not important. I look at when we got one-on-ones, how many of those are we winning, and how timely are we winning them? It doesn't always equate to a sack. To me, a win isn't necessarily a sack. It's quarterback pressure. You got to make him throw the ball. He's got to feel you, get your hips at him, get your hand in his face. Those things are just as valuable to me. So I'm not overly concerned with sack numbers. To be honest, I didn't know what that number was till you just said it. You kind of evaluate pressure in a lot of different ways. And, right now, I do think we need to win a few more one-on-ones. When I watch the film, I don't want to see guys stuck on somebody when you get a single block. You got to get on edges and make the quarterback feel you.
Let's go to Joe Giuliano and then Travis.
Good morning, Brent. You referenced a couple of questions ago your leadership. What's it been like coaching the defense with leaders like Mustapher, Brooks, and Brisker, and how do they keep that going on and off the field?
Yeah, again, I think it's a very determined group. They want to be great as a unit, as a team, and they want to be great individually. They're a very driven group, a bunch of old heads. And, it's a fun group to coach. They're going to come out and work their butts off every day. And it's important to them, whether it's a walkthrough, whether it's a meeting, whether it's a jog through, whether it's a competitive period against the offense, whatever it is. Their approach, I think, is special. It's probably what makes this group special is their approach day in and day out. And it's not just 2 or 3 guys. You're talking about 7 or 8 guys that are leading this group on our side of the ball.
Let's go to Travis Johnson and then Donnie.
Hey, Brent, in your 5 years as a coordinator here, you've had a couple guys like Jesse, I feel like, who have been able to move around, play different spots, and bring versatility to what you guys do. Do those kind of players help you improve as a game planner and a defensive play caller, you think? And if so, how have they done so?
Yeah, it's something we look for in recruiting, guys that have some hybrid qualities. We've found a lot of value in that. You go back to Cam Brown and, guys that were high school ends, but had the ability to stand up. And, Micah Parsons played linebacker. I mean, Jesse's a guy that would have been a very good player here as an end his whole career. Micah could have been a defensive end. Nick Tarburton could have played linebacker in a lot of situations. Cam Brown. I mean, you got guys that just Brandon Smith. A lot of people recruited Brandon as a defensive end. He's 250 pounds nearly at 6'4". And so it gives us flexibility in a lot of areas, but it also lends to our blitz package. The rush ability of those guys is important. And whether they're on the edge or rushing inside, those guys that are backers, that rush ability is important. And then for the guys at defensive end, the linebacker traits are important because of how we defend spread offenses. You look out there, our defensive ends are in a 2-point a lot. And, they're square shouldered and they're sag surfing and making plays in the alleys and, dropping into coverage. I mean, we just ask those guys to do a lot. So there's a lot of qualities at linebacker that lend to end here. And there's a fair amount of qualities at end that lend to linebacker. So, I think the hybrid players, get us excited when we find them on the recruiting trail.
We got time for a couple more. We'll go Donnie Collins and then Neil Riddell.
Hey, Brent, has the familiarity between Tig Brown and Jaquan shown up on the field for you this year? And if so, how important has that been for how you want to play in the secondary?
Those guys just, they work very well together. They both have a similar approach. They're great communicators. I think Tig gaining some experience last year and being involved, and they're kind of following each other. And I think, Brisker had a nice year for us last year, but obviously this year he's made great strides. And I think Tig's getting better all the time as well. They're guys that are great workers, great communicators, very confident at the safety position. And, they make adjustments and they make us right sometimes when something's about to, get awkward or be out of whack. Those two guys are savvy enough, they make things right. And, when you got a couple of guys back there that can do that, that's very beneficial.
Neil Riddell, you can wrap us up. You there, Neil? You there, Neil?
It's that service down in Altoona. You know how it is.
Neil, you got it. I just unmuted you again. You there?
He's trying to have lunch at the Knickerbocker, and they don't have good Wi-Fi there.
Neil, you there? All right, we'll go to you, Dan. Go ahead, Dan Gallon.
Can you hear me?
Oh, we got you, Neil.
I apologize. Hey, Brent.
Hey, man.
That was a good line about the Knickerbocker there. We can go there. Hey, I'm just curious on the accountability. You mentioned accountability and the guys buying in. I mean, you guys had a lot of great players there as far as high round draft picks, and other draftees. Was there a lot of tough lessons learned and some teaching moments that you could carry over into this year relative to that?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's been the kind of the foundation of this is the experience we had through those first 4 or 5 weeks last season as players and coaches. I was asking too much of a group that didn't go through a spring practice. I didn't have an opportunity to go through a package in the spring. You know, I was asking too much. And then at the same time, you know, it's always, it's out of good nature, but guys, you know, they think they, you know, need to guess to make a play. They're trying too hard to make a play. You know, and not just locked in on the framework and reading keys and that'll take care of it. And, you know, and sometimes it just dominoes a little bit. You know, one guy's trying to make a play and isn't where he's supposed to be. So the guy next to him tries to make his play and, you know, and it just carries through a little bit. And, you know, I just kind of saw it erode over those first couple of weeks. And honestly, once we addressed it and kind of hammered it for a couple of weeks, we backed off on the menu, shrunk it down what we were practicing and calling and just said, hey, let's get back to, you know, playing good fundamentals and some good base stuff and go from there. And those last 4 or 5 weeks of the season, we really carried the same menu, you know, and practiced the same things every day until we got a handle on, you know, just the execution piece of it and accountability. So definitely, Neil, lesson learned, you know, from all of us, really. Nothing intentional, you know, just, you know, experiences and that we learned from, and we were all better for it as the season progressed.
All right. Appreciate your time, Coach. And thanks everybody for joining us.
Yeah.
Today.
Appreciate everybody.